The galactic community first discovered their saviors in the form of a single ship floating in the dark. The ship was spinning slowly when an Umbral corvette struck it, ejected from warp by a failing drive. Military shipbuilding was still ramping up, forcing the use of converted merchant vessels, and the corvette's engines had been pushed far past their limits in a desperate attempt to escape. The unknown ship was cleanly in half. Aside from that wound, it was almost pristine. The corvette was still burning its drive, trying to claw its way back into warp, when the semi-autonomous AI ran an automatic scan and alerted the crew that the object was not present in any record. The record, the complete historical archive of every known species in the galaxy, contained no reference to it. The AI treated the discovery as first contact. That classification came with an ironclad set of rules, and those rules were already executing. The drive shut down. They would not spin again until the AI determined that the crew had explored the object as thoroughly as possible. With no alternative, the crew complied. Inside the exposed hull, they found technology and a written language that their sensors could not interpret. Whatever this ship represented, it was beyond them. Embedded deep within its systems was a navigational archive, a map pointing to an intact station. The map was transmitted to their superiors, and a search began. Weeks passed before the station was found. At first it was dismissed as an asteroid, cold, inert, unremarkable. Only after a second scan using a specialized energy array did its true nature become clear. The station radiated more power than the entire search fleet combined. Soldiers swept its exterior for threats, while researchers pored over live feeds. What they could understand hinted at a shift so profound it would advance their civilization by millennia. They were a young species, only a few generations among the stars, and already the walls were circling their borders. The technology felt like fantasy made real. When the researchers first identified the weapon systems, a collective shiver passed through the room. It felt like death made tangible. Strategists began drafting plans, campaigns that would end their wars decisively when the AI made another discovery. It had begun decoding the station's library. If the station held their weapons, the library held their wisdom. The texts were not merely readable. They were understandable. Ideas unfolded naturally, as if written for alien minds. The thoughts within had been explored, deeply tested, refined, abandoned, revisited. They could destroy their enemies now, easily. But the library spoke of something that endured longer than conquest. The station felt less like a gift than a question. A lesson. A choice. They chose poorly. A cycle later, the homeworld of the most aggressive rival species lay in ruin. Fire fell without distinction. Adult, child, animal. It spread until the planet itself began to cook beneath the assault. When the thieves reached command, the admiral overseeing the strike was found dead at his station. Tears still marked his face. Regret, when shared by an entire species, was devastating. Before the ground had cooled, relief fleets were already en route. When the survivors asked why, the answer spread faster than the fire had. Across the galaxy, questions followed. Questions about the library, about its authors. The library had answers to everything except that. Its creators were absent, their names erased, their origins scrubbed clean. When the war ended, the search began. Generations passed. New methods of charting were invented. Countless lives were spent following fragments and anomalies, until at last a final clue was found, one that justified the cost. The expedition landed on a dead world of stone and ice. Beneath its surface lay a single subterranean cavern. The team that reached it was small, chosen from the best the galaxy could offer. They were near death when they reached the sealed door at the cavern's heart. The explorer who opened it did so with reverence. They called themselves humans. Rows of cryogenic pods filled the chamber, holding the last remnants of their species. The walls bore no praise and no defense. They recorded what had been done and what had followed. The explorers did not want to believe it, but the chamber was a mausoleum, and mausoleums do not lie. Somewhere beyond the walls, a weapon had been created by the desperate something, meant to end something equally terrible. The pods were not an escape. They were a vigil. The stations, it became clear, were never meant to save their creators. They were meant to save whoever came after. The humans had removed themselves from their own history. There was no claim of redemption, no demand for forgiveness, only tools, knowledge, and silence. The final 1,000 remained entombed as a living library, waiting for the moment the galaxy no longer needed them before the virus, still running its course, would finish what had already been decided.